Have you ever thought, just one person, in a wild forest? No electricity, no machinery, no one to help. Is it possible to build a complete house? It sounds unbelievable, but today, I'm going to show you the whole journey. From zero to when a real wooden house appears in the middle of the forest. And believe me, this video is not only visually stunning but will also make you rethink the importance of perseverance. There was only the sound of the wind and the almost absolute silence of the forest. The man appeared, not in a hurry. Not saying much, he just stood there, observing, choosing the location. This is a step many people skip, but it determines almost everything. For a house to last, it must start in the right place. The soil must be firm enough, not too damp. There must be sunlight, just a small step. But it clearly shows the experience and calculation behind it. And then, the work began. Each axe stroke echoed, not fast, rapid, very firm the tree fell. But that wasn't the end, only the beginning. He continued, cutting, peeling, and adjusting each log. Every detail had to be precise, because even a slight deviation would affect the entire house later. The remarkable thing is, everything was done by hand. No machinery, no assistancia on length, and almost unwavering perseverance. After gathering all the materials, he began laying the foundation. No concrete, no steel, just stone and wood. But each stone was placed with great purpose, raising the house off the ground to prevent dampness and decay. This is a very ancient style of construction, but it's extremely suitable for the forest. It looks simple, but balancing the whole thing requires meticulous attention to detail. If you think this part is the hardest, don't worry. What follows is the real challenge. Interestingly, he didn't use concrete. Instead, he used stone. Every position is carefully considered. The purpose is clear: to elevate the house off the ground, to avoid dampness, to prevent decay, to prevent insects. This is a very old style of construction, but it's incredibly clever. It looks simple, but balancing is no easy situation, and the entire structure above will be affected, and he knows that. So everything heavily, but very surely. At this stage, and to become clearer, the stones were arranged into pillars, not only to lift the house off the ground, but also to protect against moisture, weather, and time. Above, long wooden planks had been placed in position. He didn't rush. Each plank was carefully aligned to ensure the entire surface was perfectly flat, because he knew even a slight deviation would ruin everything above. This moment might not be spectacular, but this is the foundation that will later support an entire house. This outer lifting duct will retain moisture, rot easily, and attract insects. Therefore, each cut must be even, not too strong, so as not to scratch the wood underneath, but not too gentle either, so that the bark is completely removed. You can clearly see each piece of bark being peeled away, revealing the bright, clean wood underneath. This is not just for aesthetics, it's a way to ensure these wooden planks can last a very long time in nature. He began placing large wooden beams on the surface. This was a crucial step. From disjointed stone pillars, everything began to connect. He lifted each piece of wood, placing it in the correct position, not just putting it down, but aligning it, making sure everything was straight, fit together, and could withstand the weight. You can see, the floor surface gradually became more seamless, no longer separate pieces. It began to resemble a real floor. Each piece of wood must be perfectly straight and the correct length. There's no room for error, because even a slight deviation will cause the entire house to be uneven later on. When the logs were ready, the most important step began. That was creating the joints. He used the axe, not to chop anymore, but to sculpt. Each blow was not random. Every angle of the cut was calculated beforehand? Because the goal was very clear: how to make the two logs fit together perfectly. It's all about precision. You can see. He constantly adjusts every little detail. Cut, check, then adjust again, until the wood joints fit together securely. This is what makes the difference, not strength, but skill. And once these joints are completed, the house can almost stand on its own. After the main parts were assembled, the work wasn't finished. Now, it was time to refine the small details. He continued to work on the wood surface, smoothing, flattening, and correcting imperfections. This stage required patience. No more forceful movements, just small, precise operations, because sometimes these very small details determine the overall feel of the house. You can see each corner gradually becoming neater from rough. To finissez. And this is also when the structure begins to take on the shape of a real house. This is the most exciting part of the whole video. Each log is lit covered there is set. He cuts joints so the logs lock together. No nails, no glue, just within from inside goes. Layer after layer, from the bare ground, a structure begins to emerge. You can clearly see the house is growing day by day. This feeling is hard to describe. It's like watching something come to life. In the tranquil silence of the deep forest, the rhythmic sound of the drill echoed steadily, slowly yet surely. The man was in no hurry, each movement decisive, as if he were conversing with the piece of wood before him. Light filtered through the canopy, illuminating the freshly carved wood, highlighting each rough yet vibrant detail. No machinery, no noise, just man and nature. This moment was not merely construction, but more like a ritual, a place where patience, strength, and time intertwined. This video is truly captivating, not only because of the peaceful mountain scenery, but also because of the way the man works slowly, steadily, and with great experience. From the very beginning, he personally prepared each piece of wood, carefully carving and shaping it to create a solid foundation for the house. In particular, when the logged, the precision and meticulousness in every detail became apparent. The wood surfaces still bore the marks of carving, rough, but very authentic. The way he lined the logs with cloth showed his understanding and careful planning to maintain the house's heat and airtightness. Watching it all, you realize this isn't simply about building a house in a month, but a whole process requiring immense strength, skill, and perseverance. To accomplish this alone is truly remarkable. Day by day, the house gradually took shape. From the initial rough pieces of wood, everything was gradually assembled into a sturdy structure with a clear form. Looking at each layer of wood stacked on top of each other, each detail carefully adjusted, one can truly appreciate the meticulousness and patience in every step. No longer just disjointed parts. It had become a real house, simple, rustic, yet solid amidst nature. If the walls and the roof is the hardest, because it's not just a covering layer. It's what protects the entire house from rain, from wind, and from time. He started by building the roof frame, each wooden beam was placed. Not randomly. Every angle, every support point had been calculated beforehand. The slope had to be just right, so that rainwater could drain away. Not too low, to avoid waterlogging, not too high. To maintain stability, it's a very delicate balance. He lifted each wooden beam, placed it in position, then stepped back. Observed. He didn't rush to fix it immediately. He always checked again, because he knew just a slight misalignment would cause the entire roof to lose its precision, and the consequences wouldn't be immediate. It will come after the rains, when the water begins to seep in. Little by little, after the roof frame is complete, he begins roofing. Layer after layer of material is laid down. It could be thin planks of wood or natural materials. No machinery to assist, just his hands and absolute concentration. Each layer is stacked on top of the other, in a very clear order, to prevent water from seeping back inside. This is where you can see most clearly the meticulousness in his work. Not fast, but extremely solid. Every small detail is handled carefully, because a roof isn't something that can be easily repaired later. Once completed, it must function perfectly in the sun, in the rain, in strong winds, and when the final layers are laid. You will realize one thing: the house is now truly closed, no longer an open structure, but a complete space, a place that can provide shelter. And from that moment on, it ceased to be just a structure. It began to become Aomi. Each waterproofing sheet was carefully placed and aligned to completely cover the roof frame. Beneath the already sturdy wooden structure, he continued to reinforce it to ensure the house could withstand the elements for a long time. His work was decisive and skillful, each step meticulously planned, not done haphazardly. This was the transition from the rough frame to the finishing touches, when the house not only took shape but truly began to become a place of shelter and habitation. This part is quite interesting. He used a piece of sheet metal and drew a chicken on it before cutting along the outlines. Every detail was meticulously crafted. From the head and wings to the tail, everything was clearly defined. After completion, the chicken figure was erected on the roof as a decorative symbol. It's a small detail, but it creates a unique focal point, making the house no longer just a place to live, but one that has personality and soul. With the steady rhythm of the handsaw, the first windows began to be carved from the solid wooden wall. This was the moment when the craftsman had to concentrate intensely, measuring every millimeter to ensure each cut perfectly matched the original design. Pieces of wood fell, making way for the breeze and warm sunlight to filter inside. The appearance of the two windows not only softened the rough wood grain but also breathed life into the house, making the previously enclosed space suddenly feel more intimate and vibrant. This was the moment. This is a process that demands absolute precision. Each saw stroke is meticulously calculated to avoid affecting the overall structure of the house. When the first rays of sunlight filter through the newly cut window frame, the interior space seems to awaken, no longer sterile but warm and vibrant. The house now begins to breathe, marking a significant transition from a raw structure to a livable space. After the openings were cleared, he began the detailed measurements for the window and door frames. Each length and width was measured multiple times to ensure the wooden frames would fit perfectly without any gaps. This measurement process wasn't simply about numbers. It also involved calculations to account for the shrinkage of the wood over time. Planted smooth and precise join, preparing the sturdy doors that would protect the house from the elements. This is the most crucial tailoring step to ensure the door operates smoothly and tightly. He carefully checks the balance, cutting and shaping each frame piece to perfectly fit the raw wooden wall. As the first frames are fitted against the wall, the shape of the house becomes clearer, ready for the final finishing touches to transform it into a complete home. The door installation process followed immediately to ensure the house was airtight. He carefully placed each wooden frame into the pre-cut gaps, securing them firmly to withstand the sun and rain. Installing the hinges and adjusting the doors required patience to ensure each opening and closing was smooth and silent. With the perfectly fitting and sturdy doors, the house, once a rough block of wood, officially became a safe living space, ready to shelter its inhabitants. The front door is not just a passageway, but the soul of a wooden house. He meticulously measured, carefully marking the lines before beginning to cut the thickest planks of wood. Installing the front door requires patience and strength, as even the smallest details must be precise so that each opening and closing is smooth and effortless. The moment the front door is installed and closed for the first time, the rustic space suddenly becomes a true family. From here, wind and rain are kept outside, giving way to the outside world. With large and heavy planks of wood, he had to meticulously calculate to ensure the door wouldn't sag or warp over time. Every saw cut, every hammer blow was aimed at absolute perfection. When the sturdy main door was finally positioned on the frame, the house's appearance was completely transformed. It was no longer an unfinished structure, but ready to become a solid, private, and vibrant dwelling. as golden rays of sunlight began to filter through the newly opened windows, dancing on the floor still fragrant with the scent of fresh wood. He began the process of breathing life into the living space with handcrafted furniture. In the quiet room, where only the sound of steady breathing and firm footsteps could be heard, he meticulously handled each heavy, solid piece of wood. These weren't soulless, industrially cut planks, but sturdy tree trunks carefully selected to support the bed frame. Sweat beaded on his face, but his eyes sparkled with carefree joy. He carefully turned and tested each piece of wood, ensuring each support was firm and balanced on the floor. Under his rough but skillful hands, the dry, hard, and gnarled wood suddenly seemed to become soft and unusually vibrant. They are no longer just lifeless logs lying on the edge of the forest, but have now become supports for restful sleep and places to rest a hot cup of tea each morning. The centerpiece of the room is the bed, the object of his most dedicated craftsmanship. Without elaborate carvings, the bed appears sturdy and majestic, supported by solid, round wooden pillars, large logs that he carefully transported and measured throughout the afternoon. These pillars are solid, gripping the floor like tree roots, promising durability that will withstand the test of time. Watching him engrossed and diligently working with the wood, the house instantly shed its cold, unpolished atmosphere. The presence of these handmade pieces of furniture transformed the lifeless wooden walls into something surprisingly warm and inviting. The house now seemed like a living organism awakening, gently opening its heart to welcome the peaceful breaths of life and the happy laughter that will soon fill it. Things that seem small, but create a feeling of home. From a raw structure, it has now become a place where life can begin, warm, simple, but very real. Once the bed and table were in place, he set about installing the most important item for the cold winter, the sturdy cast-iron fireplace. This was the heart that would keep the fire burning and spread warmth throughout the room. With utmost caution, he bent down, using the strength of his powerful hands to move the heavy cast-iron block into the carefully positioned corner. The gleaming black fireplace stood out against the light-colored wood, creating plethora enemy CNNH. Not content with just large items, he continued to meticulously care for the smaller corners of the house by creating additional hanging shelves and versatile racks. What truly impressed people was his creativity in utilizing naturally curved branches as supports for flat wooden planks. Watching him skillfully test each piece of wood against the wall, adjusting it precisely, one can see the dedication the craftsman puts into every detail. These shelves are not only a place to hang backpacks, clothes, or personal belongings, but also a peaceful little corner where he keeps his kettle and fragrant cups of coffee every morning. The combination of the rustic charm of forest branches and the smooth surface of the wooden shelves creates a harmonious whole, transforming the bare walls into something much more vibrant and functional. Each charming little item arranged on the shelves seems to tell a story of a free and independent life, where everything is created by diligent hands and a refined aesthetic sense. Finally, the house is complete in the middle of the forest. A small, peaceful space emerges, not flashy, not modern, but it has something very skrill. F's create entire one person watching tease. I suddenly feel a sense of slowing down. I realize that faster isn't always better. Sometimes, slow but steady brings far greater value. This video isn't just about building a house. It's about perseverance, focus, and how a person can create something from scratch. If you're feeling overwhelmed by life, then this is the kind of video worth watching. It's relaxing, and it makes you think a lot. After finishing the interior, he went back to the front to complete the entrance, the final link between the house and the ground. He carefully placed thick planks of wood onto sturdy round wooden posts to form the solid steps. But the most impressive feature was the handrail, which he crafted from a naturally curved branch. Watching him carefully hold the branch in his hand, testing its position on the railing, one can truly appreciate the craftsman's meticulousness in preserving the pristine beauty of the mountains and forests. The branch curves and twists with each step, serving both as a safe support and an artistic touch on the porch. When the last nails are hammered in, the entrance is no longer a series of dry wooden steps, but a warm welcome. Now, with each step he takes on the wooden steps, his hand gently resting on the rustic branch, he knows he has truly returned to the peaceful home he built with his own hands. The meticulous process of crafting the window frames was finally complete, making way for the glass installation, the moment the house truly awakened and opened its doors to the outside world. Each clear, smooth pane of glass was carefully and skillfully fitted into the precisely measured grooves of the wooden frame. Securing the glass required gentle yet firm hands to ensure a perfect seal, blocking out wind and rain while maintaining unobstructed views. When the last pane of glass was installed, as darkness gradually enveloped the forest, the work was just finished. He slowly spread the soft mattress on the wooden bed frame, still smelling of fresh resin, feeling the sturdiness of the round wooden posts he had painstakingly installed. A warm yellow light was switched on, illuminating the rustic space, making every corner, from the hanging shelf to the cast-iron fireplace, seem strangely luminous and inviting. Sitting at the wooden table he had carved himself, he leisurely sipped a hot cup of coffee, listening to the crackling of the fire in the hearth and feeling the warmth spreading throughout the room. When his coffee cup was empty, he gently lay back on the warm mattress, gazing through the transparent window at the twinkling starry sky outside. In the breath of the forest and the soothing scent of wood, he drifted into a deep sleep, his first sleep in this peaceful home, marking a new beginning filled with happiness and freedom amidst the vast wilderness.